If you're just getting started in Wuthering Waves, it's important to know which characters you should pull. You don't want to start your account with a terrible unit and end up quitting. That's not what you installed the game for. That's why, in this video, I'll be showing you exactly what characters you should pull for in Wuthering Waves. What's up YouTube, I'm Frogs, and this is my definitive pull value tier list. First, we're going to start with the standard banner characters. So first we have Verina, and this is a great healer and buffer, and I'm just going to put it in double S tier because you can use her in basically any team simply because she's a healer, and she also just has a general 15% attribute damage bonus to everyone in your team for 30 seconds, I believe, and that's just by using her outro skill, and you get a 15% damage bonus for everyone. So just from that, double S tier. Next we have Encore. Encore is a standard DPS. She's not that versatile and she doesn't really hit that hard. She gets the job done, and for that I'll put her in B. She gets the job done. Encore only has so many teams. There are a lot of free-to-play teams that are definitely decent enough. They're good enough in the beginning to, you know, get through the content, the story, exploration, but endgame, she's just not that efficient. You can still easily get stuff done with her because obviously she's going to be better than some of the 4-star DPSs because she just has better scaling, but that's really it. She has the ability to get it done. Next, we have Calcharo, Calculator, if you will. He is another standard 5-star DPS. I'm going to put Calculator below Encore because really his only meta team is with Yinlin, and even that she can be used somewhere else. Xiangli Yao, obviously, she can be used as double DPS with him. Calculator, he can still get it done just like Encore, but it's a lot harder. Next, we have Jianxin. I'm actually going to put her higher on the tier list because I believe she's going to have some fusion with Lupa, which is going to be the next character in the second half of 2.4, if you didn't get the pun there. So I'm going to put her in A tier. Otherwise, I'd put her above Encore, but still in B. With her outro skill, she buffs ultimate damage by 38% for 14 seconds. If you don't have Changli, then you could probably use this with Lupa eventually when she releases. She also just has a useful kit. She has pull. She can pull in easy enemies with her ultimate, and she also does a bit of shielding and healing, so she's not completely useless besides, you know, just gathering enemies together and using her outro skill. Next, we have Lingyang. I think this is a very easy one. He's going to go straight in D. If you look at any other tier list, he's in his own power kind of terrible. Not kind of. He is just terrible. He's not universal in any way. He can be used in Glacio teams, and that's basically it. That will finish the standard banner characters, and next we will move on to the limited characters. And to start with the limited characters, we are going to have Jiyan. Jiyan is a 1.0 unit. He does heavy attack damage, and even though he is a 1.0 unit, he's going to go straight into S tier. He could go in double S, but I'm not going to put him there because he's definitely not as versatile as other characters. But he can still use fairly free-to-play teams, which includes Mortifi and also Yang. You can also use him with the second newest 5-star Ciaccona and Arrow Rover, which is worse than Mortifi or Yang, but still is an option. He is useful in both of the endgame modes, which are Tower of Adversity and Whimpering Wastes, respectively, especially Whimpering Wastes because he is an AoE unit, which means he pulls in the enemies around him and also just does damage to those enemies around him better than other characters. So for that, he is in S tier. Next on the list is going to be Yinlin, another 1.0 unit, and I'm going to put her in B, top of B above Encore because she's better than Encore. Yinlin is held back by the fact that she's kind of niche to one element, and that's why people were saying she was future-proof in 1.0, is that because she's niche to one element, that there's going to be no other buffer as good as her as what she does, but there has been many other buffers. I think the only reason Yinlin is above Encore right now for me is because not only can she support Jinhsi with coordinated attacks and get her skill to do more damage, but she also has the outro skill buff of ultimate damage. And like I said with Jianxin, that should be able to be useful with Lupa in 2.4, the second half. And the reason for that is because Lupa is supposed to deal just a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of resonance liberation damage. And that's why Yinlin is going to be at B. Next on the list is Jinhsi. Now, Jinhsi is kind of a difficult character to rank because she's good at Tower of Adversity, but she's not that good at Whimpering Wastes. But she's better than Jiyan at Tower of Adversity, and she is also able to be used with a lot more characters than Jiyan. For that reason, I'm going to put Jinhsi just slightly above Jiyan in pull value because she can be used with many other characters unlike Jiyan. Next on the list is Changli. Now Changli is a very useful unit, but the problem is she requires a lot of skill to play with many other units. But that is not going to stop me from putting her in double S tier. And I think the reason Changli goes in double S tier is because of the fact that she can be used in quick swap with basically any DPS. It's genuinely insane the amount of teams that Changli is in. Some examples of the quick swap teams can be Xiangli Yao, Carlotta, Phoebe, Zani, Chisia, Encore, even Calcharo. You can use her as duo DPS with any of these DPSs. It's genuinely insane. Now, before you pull her, I just want to make it clear that it requires a decent amount of practice or just time put in to playing those teams and understanding how the quick swap works. So in that case, if you don't want to put in the time to do that, she would go in A, but if you dedicate the time to play Changli, she is double S. It's insane. The next character on the list is Xiangli Yao, and I'm just going to go straight to the ranking. I think he is the top of S, because he can be used in both Whimpering Wastes as well as Tower of Adversity. He's not as good as Jiyan in Whimpering Wastes, but he can still be easily used, especially with Changli Quick Swap, and he's definitely better than Jiyan in Tower of Adversity. He can be used in multiple other teams, and overall, he's just pretty useful, and that's why he's going to go in the top of S. Next on the list, we have Zhezhi, and I'm going to go over this one really quickly. I think she is a solid A tier. I think she's at the very top of A, because she is the best in slot support for Carlotta and Jinhsi, and just for that is the main reason she's going to be at the top, because if you have Zhezhi, then you can pull Jinhsi or Carlotta and have success. Like, it's as simple as that. She can also be used as a main DPS with Sanhua if you're extremely free to play, and that's really your only option. So yeah, I think Zhezhi is a solid top of A tier. This one is very easy. Shorekeeper, she's going to go straight into double S. I don't really have to give a reason for this. Her ultimate gives 12% crit rate as well as 24% crit damage. Her outro skill is 15% attribute damage bonus, and she can just, her rotation is pretty fast. So really easy character to use and just really powerful. I think another really easy one is Camellya, which is who we have next. She's going to go in double S tier. This one isn't really hard for me. I use her in the overworld all the time along with Phoebe for obvious reasons. She's just useful in every single aspect of the game. I might actually put her above Changli for that, because Changli, you have to pull maybe other 5 stars, but Camellya you can use with Verina and Sanhua or Verina and Danjin and do just fine. She can be used in the overworld because of her double nuke. She can use her resonant skill for an easy nuke on elite enemies. Her ultimate on elite enemies, she's very useful for that. Tower of Adversity, she can clear pretty easily, just like anybody else. Whimpering Wastes, I think she's actually better than Jiyan in Whimpering Wastes because she doesn't just rely on her ultimate. She can be used just by herself and pass through the beginning few levels with absolute ease. You don't even need a team for those levels. Yeah, that's where I think Camellya sits. Next on the list is Carlotta. This is a bit of a difficult one. Carlotta is a very, very easy character to use, especially if you have her team. I'm going to put her at the top of S. I don't think she's double S because she's not, you know, as versatile as someone like Changli. She's definitely easier to play, but her teams are somewhat limited. But because she's really easy to play and can pass through content easily, Tower of Adversity, she's probably like the best boss killer because of the freeze. You don't even have to worry about really being attacked. You can just deal the damage and be done with it. Her rotations are really fast. Whimpering Wastes, again, her rotations are really fast. She deals enough damage. Her ultimate has like 5 shots and they do a little bit of AoE, but her final shot just pierces through everything, so you can clear each wave with that final shot really easily. And that's I clear Whimpering Wastes better with Carlotta than I do with Jiyan. So I don't know if that says anything about my Jiyan build versus my Carlotta build, but hey, that's just how it is for me. I don't get it. Next on the list is Roccia. I'm gonna put her top of C. She is best in slot support for one team, and that is Camellya's team, and that's basically all she does. If you need AoE support in, say, Whimpering Wastes, then she's double S, but that's literally it. That's all she does. Pulls in enemies, and Camellya doesn't even need that, but she's just the best support for her. So yeah, top of C, that's the best she can possibly get. Phoebe is going to go in the top of S tier in front of Carlotta because she can be used with the main character Spectro Rover. She can be used as a main DPS in that role, but she can also be used as a sub DPS with Zani, and she's the best in slot support. She can also be used in quick swap teams with Ciaccona and Changli, which sounds kind of crazy, but if you use Ciaccona to buff Phoebe's damage while she uses the Absolution mode, which is her DPS mode, then you can deal damage with her and then hit the damage with Changli and, you know, deal damage. So Phoebe can be used in multiple different teams, but it takes, you know, the brain to figure that out. And if you don't want to use the brain to figure that out, then you can just use her with Spectro Rover and deal enough damage to get you through tower. She, however, cannot be used in Whimpering Wastes without someone like Zani or, say, that quick swap team, just because of her free-to-play Spectro Rover team. That's why she's in the top of S. Next on the list is Brant, and I'm gonna put him mid A below Jianxin and Zhezhi because he can be used with Changli, Encore, Lupa eventually. He's also just a healer and a shielder, so it kind of makes sense to group them together. He's not too versatile. He's actually quite difficult to build as well, which is another reason he's not in S. Now we have Cantarella, and she is going straight into D tier above Lingyang because Lingyang's just terrible. She actually has some use, but currently there isn't really besides Jinhsi. I mean, you can use her with Danjin or Camellya, but you know, there's better options, and it's unlimited 5 stars, so you could be using those pulls for, say, Shorekeeper, Changli, Carlotta, Xiangli Yao, Jinhsi, Jiyan, Zhezhi. You can use it for any other characters. It's just not, she's just not useful right now. So D tier. Next we have Zani, and I'm gonna put her above Brant. And the reason for that is Zani can use Spectro Rover and get enough buffs to deal the damage that she needs to get things done. For the next character, we have Ciaccona, and I think I'm going to put her, I'll put her above Jianxin. She is useful for, obviously, the newest character, Cartethiya. She can also be used in Phoebe teams with Spectro Rover for the Spectro Frazzle from her ultimate, and she herself does a pretty good amount of damage if you build her correctly. I think with the Phoebe team, it would probably be best to just use the Moonlit Cloud set and have Arrow Rover use the Rejuvenating Glow set, because Spectre Rover can actually heal a bit with his ultimate. Ciaccona doesn't do any healing. She just has the sub DPS Moonlit Cloud set for her. So yeah, I'll keep her an A. And for the last limited 5-star, I'm not including Lupa because she's not exactly out yet. I haven't really seen exactly what Cartethiya can do, but from what I know, she actually deals an insane amount of damage, and you don't need Ciaccona. If you have, say, Phoebe and Arrow Rover built, you can use that, but otherwise there's no real way to apply Arrow Erosion. So for pull value, I'm going to put Cartethiya next to Jiyan, because from what I know, she's not as good as Jiyan in Whimpering Wastes, but Jiyan is not as good as Cartethiya in Tower of Adversity. So like they're opposites, basically, in what they accomplish. But Jiyan definitely has better free-to-play teams that are available to anyone. So yeah, I'll put Cartethiya behind Jiyan. That concludes the list of limited 5-stars. Now we move on to the 4-stars. Starting off strong with the 4-stars, we have Danjin. I'm going to put her at the bottom of S, because obviously I'm counting all the 4-stars as S6 here, and at S6 she gives a 20% attack buff to everyone on the team by using her kit. 20% attack buff, as well as her outro skill, which provides a Havoc damage buff to the next character. That's great for Camellya, Havoc Rover, so that becomes a pretty free-to-play team. Just overall, pretty good character for being a 4-star. The second 4-star on the list is Alto, and I'm going to put him above Cantarella in D tier because he is a 4-star, so he is significantly easier to get than a 5-star. The reason he's not in C is because his outro skill buff is just not as significant as other 4-stars. Even if you get extra copies of him, unlike Danjin or Sanhua, he does not give a 20% attack buff. So really, all he does is hold Moonlit Clouds and give 23% arrow damage bonus, along with Static Mist if you give him that. The third 4-star is Xiangli. I'm going to put her at the bottom of C. You can use Xiangli to solo content like Danjin, but otherwise there isn't really a different use for Xiangli. She doesn't provide any buffs to any incoming characters unless you give her Moonlit, but obviously that's not going to be as much of a support as someone else like Sanhua or Danjin or Mortifi, so no support capabilities. All she does is just solo if you have her built well and you dedicate some time to figuring out how to play her. The fourth 4-star on the list is going to be Tao Chi, and I'm going to put her in C tier next to Xiangli, and the reason she is above Xiangli is because her outro skill actually gives a buff, and an actually pretty useful buff, 38% resonance skill damage bonus for 14 seconds. So obviously you can use Tao Chi with Jinhsi. The next 4-star is Mortifi, and this is a pretty simple one. He's going to go at the top of S tier. He is a great 4-star unit. He has the 20% attack buff in his 6th chain. So just by using his ultimate, you get 20% attack for your entire team, as well as his outro skill buffing heavy attack damage by 38% for 14 seconds. He also is able to hold Moonlit as well as Static Mist. So he just provides a huge array of buffs, as well as dealing a decent amount of damage himself with his ultimate with those heavy attacks. So yep, top of S with that. The next 4-star is Wu, and he's going to go at the top of D. He can be used as a DPS, but he doesn't really excel at all. The only other use is with Jinhsi. He can provide the coordinated attacks if you don't have someone like Zhezhi. The next 4-star is Baija, and she's gonna go, I think she's gonna go at the bottom of B. Really her only use is the Rejuvenating Glow Echo set. She can hold that, and she just heals. So if you pick up her the feather that is dropped from her skill, then you can get some attack boost, but that's really it. This next 4-star is actually a very easy ranking. Sanhua goes straight into SS. The obvious reason for this is she takes barely any field time. She works with really any team with her buffs. 20% attack for the entire team, as well as being able to hold Moonlit Clouds. So just those 2 buffs, and her basic attack damage bonus from her outro skill to the next character is great for any team that needs or deals basic attack damage. So she's quite universal for, you know, whatever the team is. And you can even use her as a support for teams that don't even deal that much basic attack damage. This next 4-star is actually quite a valuable pull, a very valuable 4-star to pull, especially at S6, because she also has the 20% attack buff from using her mid-air attack, I believe. The only problem with her buffing is that she doesn't give any damage related buff besides the attack percent and the Moonlit Clouds attack percent as well. Her outro skill only gives resonance energy, which recharges your ultimates, and for that I'm gonna put her at the top of A because she's just that universal. But I don't think she's as good as Danjin, because Danjin has a very specific niche buff that is just better for a specific team, unlike Yangyang's, which is just universal. This next one is really easy for me to rank because, quite frankly, I've never seen anybody unironically use this character. Yoo-Hoo is just kind of useless. Like, coordinated attack damage boost from her outro skill, okay, she's a healer. She gives a bit of buffs if you use her on Rejuvenating Glow, but that's really it. She doesn't outshine any niche buff, and she definitely is not a good enough global buff to be used on the other teams compared to the niche buffers. So yeah, bottom of D tier, even below Lingyang. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the final character I'm going to be ranking, because Lupa's not out yet, Lumi, is going in B, below Baija, because Baija is a healer as well as having the attack buff from her resonance skill if you pick it up, obviously. But Lumi, once you use her liberation, her ultimate, at S6, you get that 20% attack buff. She's a Moonlit Clouds set holder. Her outro skill is short, 10 seconds, but it is a 38% resonance skill damage bonus, so you could use her with Jinhsi or Carlotta. You might have to maybe adjust the rotation a little bit. That will conclude this tier list. If you're free to play or really strict about who you pull, I really hope this list helped you. If you ever need confirmation or an opinion on a new character's actual value, I hope I can provide that opinion for you early on in their release. And since you watched this video all the way through, go check out this tier list where I rank all the 5-star limited banner weapons. That's all from me, and I hope to see you next time.
Left me all alone, losing all my hope. But I gotta let you know that I need you. Nothing's going right, losing all my time. Baby, you got me in a show.